All right, so next lesson here. So the first lesson was about finding the equation of a line given a graph. Now we're going to graph an equation or graph what's called a linear function. And it's in y equals mx plus b form. And so last time when we would find the equation, all we did was we found the y-intercept, and then we found our slope, and then we were able to write the equation. Well, this time we're going to do it backwards. Okay, so we are going to plot our slope, or sorry, plot our y-intercept, and then we're going to use our slope to find more points. Okay, so let's just go through these, and I think you'll get the hang of it. Okay, so the y-intercept, so I'm going to circle the y-intercept here. It's plus 7. So remember, y is this axis that goes up and down, so I'm going to make a point at plus 7. And then from that point that I made, I don't want to go back down to 0. I want to start at that point, that's 7. And my slope, now this slope is confusing because it has a negative sign in front of it, but it isn't with the 1 or the 3. Well, we always want the negative sign to be with the number in the numerator. So in this case, the 1 is going to be our negative number. So our slope is negative 1 over 3. So that means we're going to go down 1 and then over 3 and make another point. Okay, now typically we don't draw that little triangle in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to red to actually draw my line. So I'm going to draw my line now, and sometimes it's a little hard on the iPad to do this, but we'll try our best. And I draw my line, I connect the 2 points, and then I draw arrowheads on either end because the arrowheads indicate that the line continues on. And we know with a linear equation that the line continues on forever, so that's why we put the arrowheads there. Okay, so you may notice I only made 2 points, and that's because that's all we need to graph a line is 2 points, because there's only one line that goes through 2 points. Okay, so I could have continued though and continued to make more points, but I don't have to. I only need 2 points in this case, so that's why I did that. All right, let's keep going here. I think I went with the darker one. All right. So again, now notice when I circled that y-intercept in the first one, I included the plus sign. When I circle the y-intercept in this one, I'm going to include that negative sign, and that's, or the minus sign, they call it in an equation. But when it's just with a number, it's a negative sign. So it makes that 5 negative, so I need to make sure I put a point where the negative 5 is. And then my slope is all positive, it's 2 over 7. That means I'm going up 2 and then over 7, and I'm creating a point. Now again, that blue triangle shape thing is not part of our line. It's not something that we need to do, and I'm going to stop doing it eventually, just so you can see that we don't need to do it. But there we go, I connected those 2 points and I drew my arrowheads. And one thing you can do to check these is look at your slope. And if your slope is positive, your line should be going up from left to right. And if your slope is negative like the first one, it should be going down. That's an easy way to check your work. All right, here we go. We have both a negative y-intercept and a negative slope. Whoops, I better go back to blue. Negative y-intercept, so we have negative 3. And then we have a negative slope, so we are going down 7. And notice I'm always going to the right with that bottom number. Okay, so it's the same thing when we're finding our slope. We're always going to go up or down first, and then we go to the right. So here we go, we down 7. Well, that's going to take me all the way down to negative 10, and then I go over 9. So I'm way over here, kind of almost off my area where I can write. All right, here we go. I'm going to switch to red. Now notice how I didn't do the little triangle thing. And there we go. So we've got our line. Okay, let's see. How many more do we have? Oh, we got 3 more. Okay, so here we go. And this is what I was talking about in the last lesson with the idea of a slope with a fraction with a 1 under it. In this case, this is a whole number. So in order to use this slope, I need it in the form of a fraction. So I'm going to make it into a fraction. And the way we do it is just put on a 1 underneath the slope. Okay, so here we go. We have our y-intercept is -8. My slope says go up 2 over 1. And just for fun, I'm going to keep doing it just to show you that you can. I went up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1. You could keep going, you know. And eventually there'll be a time where we want to do this, but we don't have to. But I'm just showing you that, hey, look at that. We've plotted all these points and they kind of look like they're already in a straight line. That's because they are, because we're using the same slope over and over again. Okay, so we had a whole number. We put it over 1. Now we have a negative x. Where's our slope? There's no slope there. There is a slope there. It just doesn't want to appear. We can always put a 1 between a negative sign and a variable. So there's a 1 there. And again, we're going to put that over 1. So anytime you see just a negative sign or anytime you see just an x by itself, put a 1 in front of it and then put it over 1. And now you have a more useful slope. All right, so then we have the y-intercept is +4, so we go to +4. And my slope is -1 over 1, so that means I go down 1 over 1. So again, I can keep going a whole bunch here. So this is kind of like that one problem from last lesson that had a slope of +1 over 1. And you notice I don't even really have to pay much attention, and I can just make all these points because they're just kind of going at a diagonal across each little box there, right? Okay, but I still need to connect all the dots. Now, some people have a bad habit of not connecting the dots to make a line. Again, I said dots, but they're actually points. Okay, so there we go. We made our line. And it has a negative slope. It's going down, so that's something to look for. All right, the last one here. Now this one has a pretty big number in the slope, a 10. It also has a 10 for the y-intercept. Oops, I'm going to go back to blue. Consistency. So my y-intercept is way up here at the top. And so then I'm going down 10. So if I go down 10, I'm going all the way down to 0, right? And then I'm going to go to the right 7. So I end up on the x-axis over here at 7. Now these 2 points are kind of unique, and we're going to learn about them later. This is the y-intercept up here at 10, and well, the 7 here is called the x-intercept, but we're gonna deal with that later. But for now, oh, that's terrible. I got to do that again. That's better. I kind of missed, but kind of missed is okay. I'm going to call that close enough. All right. So here we go. On the back, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, with a hint on the last one. All right. So go through these 9. They're in red boxes, so that means you have to put them in Schoology. There is a possibility that you won't be putting them in Schoology, so you may just have to submit this as a PDF, but you'll figure that out, and I'll let you know in class if there is a Schoology assignment or something you have to submit it as a PDF.